This is In Touch with Terri, a power-packed podcast for the medical aesthetics industry.
I just discovered your podcast, and I feel like I've hit a gold mine.
She's our inspiration.
This is someone who's got a lot of knowledge. She's been there, done that.
Terri Ross is a former Fortune 500 executive, international speaker, founder and CEO of Terri Ross Consulting, and co-founder of the 4S Summit, a sales and business mastery workshop for aesthetic professionals.
Terri is always approachable, always there for you.
It's nice to have somebody in your corner that can say, I got it.
In Touch with Terri will bring you solutions to increase operational and employee efficiency and practice profitability. Plus, feature some of the top industry experts as guests.
Terri, your courses and your podcast are just so helpful.
She made me feel like I could do this.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Now, here's Terri.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of In Touch with Terri. And if you've never tuned in before, thank you so much for joining. I always want to start off by thanking the tribe and everybody who supports me unconditionally throughout my ventures. This is almost my 100th episode. I'm really excited. For those of you, again, that follow me on my Instagram, you see me speak and lecture and teach all over the world for my clients. And for those of you that, again, just tune in to listen, this podcast is truly from the bottom of my heart for you and about you. I'm really blessed today to want to bring up a topic that is near and dear to my heart as a female CEO, as a single mom, grinding away and really trying to just give back to the world. The purpose of today's podcast is women in business and leadership, and really talking about mindset transformation, overcoming challenges in a world where it used to be so male dominated. And now there's just so many boss babes out there. So I want to welcome one of my very dear friends. And you talk about a boss babe right here. You're going to want to get a pen and paper and get a drink, because we're going to cover some amazing tools and resources and just some vulnerability topics on this podcast. So Trixie, welcome. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to get to do this with you. Thank you.
I want to really start off and say that you guys know that I'm what you see is what you get with me. And I am somebody who has, as you know, my background, worked in Fortune 500 for 16 years. I owned a med spa in Beverly Hills. I had a SaaS company that merged last year. I love consulting. I've been doing that for 15 years. But more importantly, I always raise my hand because I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room. I don't know it all. And I have always prided myself that I have reached out to other consultants and other coaches and other experts to help me in my career. And I want to take a minute and really introduce Trixie. And you guys are going to be astounded what she brings to the table. And not only is she a friend, but how she has genuinely mentored and supported me. So again, Trixy Castro is a remarkable businesswoman, boss babe. She's made a profound impact in the real estate and finance industry with her innovative approach and entrepreneurial spirit. Trixie is a distinguished leader in real estate and finance, known for her pioneering work and entrepreneurial success. As the founder of Genesis Capital, she has transformed the private lending with a unique approach that's combined constitutional risk models and personalized service, leading to an annual loan origination of over $2 billion, with a notable acquisition by Goldman Sachs in 2018. Following that success, Trixie founded Genesis Auctions, an innovative real estate disposition platform, which later was acquired by Fidelity National Title. Trixie is now at the helm of TRX Capital, where she continues to drive excellence in the private lending. She is recognized as one of the most influential women in real estate by HousingWire. Trixie's contributions have also been highlighted in leading financial news outlets, and her career really does exemplify true leadership, innovation, and more importantly, change and impact in the world. So Trixie, thank you so much. I know your time is so valuable. I'm honored to have you here with me today.
Thank you for having me. And it's truly my honor to be here. And what you do, I am extremely passionate about. You uplift others, providing the tools and the resources and the mentorship and that's what it's all about. A lot of people talk it, but you walk it. So it's really an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Wow. Well, thank you, Trixie. So I would really love, your background, right? You're first generation American and a self-made entrepreneur. Could you just share, as open as you want to be, a little bit about your story and your history and give us a glimpse of where you started and where you've come from?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it really is your true entrepreneurial, like Triumph of the Spirit story. And I don't think I realized it as it was happening, but it really starts with my parents. They came to the US. My mom made it to, I want to say probably the 11th grade in Cuba, right? Somewhere in there. My father less than that. So they did the absolute best that they could with the resources and the skill set and the knowledge that they had. And one of the things that they did was my mom wanted a better life for me. I was 3 years old at the time when she decided that she was going to apply for a job taking care of an elderly couple. The wife had Alzheimer's disease. And so it was a live-in position, right? And so it was housekeeping, it was elderly care, it was the whole thing. And we had to go to the interview, and she takes me with her because the babysitter didn't go, and she was, doing this, and she was nervous. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful house I've ever been to. So she has to crush this. So let me jump in and help her. And I remember telling them, no, you have to hire my mom. And they said, well, why? And I said, because then you get me, duh. And this is the most beautiful house I've ever been to. And I want to play in your yard. And I only say that because it was the first moment that I had exposure to more. Right. So here I am, I'm looking at this beautiful home, and she has this gorgeous Chanel closet. I know what it is now. Right. And then here we are in this gorgeous guest house. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going there. And my mom's like, no, we're going to live here. Well, why? And I'm sure she gave me a very age appropriate answer. It didn't resonate with me because I was like, yeah, I don't know about you, but I like it over there better. So I'm going to go find out what they did. And crazy enough, I didn't put two and two together till many years later. Her husband, they came from Italy with 60 cents in their pocket, and they made their money. And he started a bank and in real estate. Go figure, right? Yeah. Fast forward, we were there till I was 14 years old. So we didn't even have our first home, Terry, till I was 14. So talk about setting the groundwork for wanting to come in and change the housing game and create a level playing field for everybody to have an opportunity to invest in real estate. It started at 3 years old, right? It was the first time. Anyway, make a long story short, unfortunately, they passed, and at 14, we moved. So I decided I was going to go and try out for the soccer team and cheer both at the same time. Each sport was $1,000, right? But we were moving, so I needed to make friends. So I make it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, except for it's $2,000 I have to come up with in 2 weeks. So clearly that was going to be a challenge. So I didn't want to stress anyone out in my family. So I thought, oh, okay, let me earn it. So I went and I made business cards with old school magic markers and the bubble paper on the sides. And I went across the street and I handed my business cards to the principal of an elementary school where my younger sisters went. And I said, hey, listen, I have this new business. It's called Trixie's Tutor Time. And this is what I do. Can you introduce me to the teachers? And this gentleman, I wouldn't tell you his name if my life depended on it. He paid it forward and he said yes. And all it took was him introducing me to one teacher. And within 1 month, I was making more cash than both my parents combined. But more than the money, what that taught me was there is no. If there's a will, there's a way. You just have to figure out that way for you, right? Mm-hmm. So it gave me this very much yes, you can mindset. And I realized, okay, if I can do that, let me go figure out this banking play, right? So walked into Wells Fargo when I was a little bit older and said, hey, will you guys hire me? And, they did as a teller. And I was the worst teller on the planet, but I followed the money. And at the time, the largest depositors were the real estate guys, the tech groups, and the gamblers. Wasn't trying to go to jail for counting cards. Tech was still, really new. So real estate it was. So I really wanted to learn. So I started talking to these groups and asking them, how are you doing it? What are you doing? This was way before these fix and flip shows on TV, way before all that, right? So what it was these teenagers, right? College kids like I was at the time with wads of cashier's checks in different denominations. And they would come to the bank, how I met them, and then they would go to the courthouse steps and they'd stand there and they would purchase these foreclosed homes. They'd fix them up and, 60 to 90 days later, however long it took them, they would sell them to the end user. And I thought, oh, that's amazing. I wonder if their numbers would change, how their numbers would change, I should say, if they used leverage. Well, the Cuban culture and my side of the family, they don't believe in leverage, right? So you pay everything cash. And I thought, wait a second, there's something wrong with this picture. If you use debt correctly, you can make more money. Because I did the math for these groups, right? And I said, hey, listen, let me come with you to the courthouse steps. And how do you do your diligence? And what are you doing? And how are you checking to make sure that the house isn't burnt down inside, right? And I started to understand the space. And somehow I get to the CEO of Wells Fargo at the time. And I go into this meeting and he thinks I'm there to babysit his 5 kids. And I'm like, 5 kids? Calm down. I'm actually here to meet with you. I'll help you with whatever, but I'm here to meet with you. And I walk him through this model, right? That was a genesis of Genesis. Being young and not having had these, rough patches where you have in business as you get more seasoned, we'll say, I had stars in my eyes. So what I heard him say is, that is a great idea. We're Wells Fargo. You go out and build your bank. That's what I heard. I met with him years later. That's not what he said, but that's what I heard. So that helped me. So it's exactly what I did. So that was a genesis of Genesis. And I set out to go and build a bank and put it together, a private money company and a phone and a desk, and realized, okay, I got to get this done. And my first employee was 14 years old working for a prom dress. I think you met her. Yeah, and I said, what? Why are you working for a prom dress? Who's the boy? What's happening? Where's your mom? Right. And I realized that we were that little engine that could, right? Then she gets to lead in the high school play. So we hire her best friend, Brittany. We all still work together today. I mean, this is many, many years later, but talk about growing up, right? And it was like, okay, we're going to send one to business school because that's what we can afford. And we're going to hire an intern and we're going to do all the things. And I think having done all the things is what made us and made me better, right? Because it was, you weren't going to pull the wool over my eyes because I cared about each loan like it was the only one I was ever going to do because it might be. Because that was a reality, right? That very well could be. So imagine going out there and trying to raise money. And on paper, I don't look the part, and I certainly didn't then, right? Hi, my name is Trixie. Yes, that is my real name. Let's have that conversation for 10 minutes, right?
Yep.
And then please give trust me with hundreds of millions. Wait, just kidding, billions of dollars, because I know I'll do a good job. And that's exactly what we did. And so it was, okay, there's a way that it had been done, and it was, my opinion, a mess, right? And it needed to be institutionalized because, again, my exposure was Wells Fargo. So I had seen what something could look like at scale, right? And I had seen, okay, I want to build that, but in this niche, right? And so going through that and wanting to do it myself, didn't want to take the shortcuts and the easy way out because I valued the investor's money, right? Raising the money, literally check by check, old school, high net worth, however, right? And I had this fiduciary responsibility to myself and to them that I had to guard every single dollar. So if that meant an extra trip to go see this house or to go meet this borrowing group or to go and vet them for 2 weeks instead of the traditional 1 hour, then that's what we were going to do. And that was the culture. It was be in there, be the best, and you guard it with your life. And so as we went on, we started to help these groups make more and more money. Now, instead of doing 10 houses a month, they're doing 50. 50 turns into 100. I had groups, Terry, doing 125 flips a month.
Oh my God.
Talk about changing, utilizing neighborhoods. So what's happening is now my business is scaling and the demand is outpacing the capital, right? So now I'm having a demand for $100 million, let's say, of loans, but I've got, 10 million or whatever, right? And so this was pre-securitization, pre-everything. So it was, okay, go figure it out. It was, are you going to channel that 14-year-old girl that went to the principal and you're going to find a way to do it and say, hey, we can change the game here and improve upon it? Or are you just going to, say, well, I tried. Right. So I didn't have this point of reference of oh my God, it kicked my ass. Right. I had this point of reference of yes, you can. So that's what we set out to do, and to kind of make sure that I could be a platform for these groups, right? Because now we're growing, and we're California, Texas, Florida, the Carolinas. Pretty soon we're, national. I put together an online auction model, right? So taking the concept of an eBay, right, where you've got people bidding, but for distressed real estate. So creating an environment where anybody could come on the platform and they could see all of the diligence items needed to buy a distressed or foreclosed home, right? And be able to have the time necessary. And hey, here's all the resources that you can choose to use if you want to, right? Not all related to me, but now you can make an educated decision and you can play in this space, right? And that was one of the most exciting things for me as a human being, to be able to say, hey, now someone like my mom could come in and purchase, right? And so it was a really neat thing for us to be able to do. So we did that and quickly realized, my gosh, like this is a lot of work. All of it is a lot of work. And there's only so many hours in the day. And I might have every good intention in the world, but there's only so many hours in the day. Yeah. So I realized, okay, like, again, what am I going to do? Here's a challenge. All right, let me go acquire a company that has all these licenses, right? And all the things that check all the boxes for all the banks and servicers. And let's merge together. Let's figure that out. Let me come in and do what I do well, right? The tech, the teams, the scaling, all of the operational stuff, right? And providing the resources so we could bring real players to the game to move quicker, and turned around and did that. So now we've got Genesis Capital, we've got Hudson Marshall. I'm running both platforms. So literally had a whole floor, and it's like, I might as well have been roller skating, right? Yeah. And I'm running both companies, and I'm realizing, my goodness, it's time to start preparing for a sale on this company, right? I'm in growth mode over here. Yeah. But what am I going to do with this one, right? Yeah. I need to have a seat at the table. The only way I'm going to have a seat at the table is if I do something that hasn't been done yet. It hadn't been done in our space before. So I said, okay, I'm going to go sell to the best. I'm going to go sell to the institutional world. But having had the experience of, sometimes I was a little soon to the game, right? Yeah. I realized, okay, I've got to lay the groundwork. I need to work a couple of years to put all the things in motion, to start educating the market, to start saying, hey, you have a need for what I'm doing over here, right? Because otherwise I'm going to go out all excited and just fall flat. Yeah. So the planning began. Here you're on growth mode, go, 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 right? Mm-hmm. And interestingly enough, there was little crossover between the two platforms because they were each treated differently, right? Because you're looking at it from the lens of what is the most right thing. And so going through that and maintaining that integrity was key through all of it. So had the good fortune to sell the auction company to Fidelity. 9 months later, closed on the sale to Goldman Sachs, which gives me the chills, right? Because who would have thought this girl that was never supposed to beat any of the odds, who started it with a phone and a desk and a passion, was going to go out and sell to Goldman Sachs, right? And to Fidelity, and to be able to say, hey, you know what? I did it. And so can the next person, right? And here's ways to make you not fall on your, scrape your knees like I did, right? But I had to go through the battle wounds. And, I think of it, when you're a pioneer, you get the arrows in your back, you get all of the, battle wounds, and that's okay, right? There's a reason for that. And there's a way to be able to utilize that to help the next group and to create more entrepreneurs and to be able to hopefully provide ways to scale and grow and all of the things that are necessary when one has that. And so that's kind of the genesis of that story, if you will. But of course, then life changes. And then guess what? You have non-competes every which way to Sunday. You can't pass go. You can't collect $200. What am I supposed to do? I've been working since I was 14, right? So I thought, all right, well, let me go figure out what I'm missing. In Europe, I'm locked out of the US, right? But I know me, it's like putting a cake in front of me. Of course,
you're like, watch out, I'm going to eat the whole thing.
Let me just remove myself from the situation and let me go to Europe and see what I'm missing so that, I can come back with new ideas. And I did, and it was so much fun. And, got to learn how to work in 8 countries out there, and it was wonderful. And, came back and wanted to do it bigger and better, and started investing into other entrepreneurs, and realize, my goodness, there's good business practices that apply across all industries and all platforms. And here we are today.
First of all, again, congratulations. You are such an inspiration to me, to what you've done in the world. I want to talk about some other ventures that you're in right now, which is very impressive. But for the tribe listening, I want to shed a little context, because you guys know what I do. Obviously, I'm in the aesthetic space, and what we really try to strive for is to fill a gap in the market. And that is to educate aesthetic practice owners, doctors, PE groups, whatever it is, on how to run an efficient, profitable business and being an advocate to save money. When I met Trixy again, I said this earlier, she's been a mentor to me. I've done a lot of things. But Trixie, when you talked about your story, saying you don't look the part, look at we're two blondes, right? Trixie, Terri, TNT. We don't look the part. I mean, I have a million stories of I was working in Fortune 500 and I had gotten promoted at Medicis, which is now Galderma. And I remember somebody came to shake my hand and they were like, is that your boss, the girl with the blonde hair and the big boobs? And I was literally like, shake my hand and like step out of my way kind of thing. So when you talk about being that little girl in that house, not having a home till 14, and for those that are struggling, wherever you are in your life, personally, professionally, you own a business, whatever business that is, and you feel like you're sitting in the quicksand of shit because you want something different, right? There's not a day that goes by I don't take discovery calls, and I take my own calls. And people they want to scale, they want more money, they want greater efficiency, they want a better team, they want more operational efficiency. I mean, they want all this shit. And then it'll come down to working with an expert like me or you to get further faster. And then they're like, oh, I'm not willing to take the step. So was it being that little girl coming from a family of Cuba, not wealthy, was it that perseverance for you that you feel has clearly contributed to your success? And for the people that are sort of, again, sitting in this shit, they want a different path, but they're not willing to invest, whether that's financially or invest time.
I realized I wanted to be able, to combine my passions, right, with what I cared about. And I realized, at the end of the day, I wanted to be able to help people to grow. But in order to do that, they have to respect you for something, right? Yeah. And I also realized, I really like making money. And I like not being poor, right? Yeah. And so having had it both ways, I realized, wow, you can create more access for the next person. But to take a step back, there were no Terri Rosses in my space or in when I was coming up. Women that were feminine, that were powerhouses, that were out there teaching others how to build and scale and grow and monetize, right? Had I had someone like you, and I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart, I would have increased at least 3 or 4 times. I mean, that's a big deal, right? Because it's not like I didn't do a good job. It would have been incredible. That didn't exist, right? It took you going through what you went through, me going through, for us to be here today to be able to do that. So I tell people all the time, I don't understand. If you're the business, why wouldn't you put money into yourself, right? Why wouldn't you invest in yourself if you're the business? The best way to invest in yourself is to be with the best, right? So here you have someone saying, hey, I'm going to show you the way. My God, I would have given my left arm for that. Instead, I had it the other way. I had it literally, you talk about that story, the exact same experience. It was me walking into a room saying, okay, you can serve us the coffee and the water. I'll get you coffee, water, tea. I'll get you whatever you want, but I'm actually the person you're meeting with. Literally, they would say impossible. No. It was so bad. I have to just tell you one story. It was so bad. I had this one bank, okay? And I worked on it for a year. Terri, I haven't worked on anything for a year, just like head down. I mean, I do a million things, right? And I wanted this account so bad for the auction business. In a year, and I'm going in, and I know I love it. We can tell when you've got the crowd going. And they're taking my information and I'm giving them the things and all the things, but they're not signing the deal. And I kept beating myself up thinking, what am I missing? Let me improve the data. Let me improve this, all the things.
Whatever.
I thought, could it be something as simple as I don't look like them?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
And I said, no, it couldn't be that. And I thought, let me just try. So you know what I did? I took one of my borrowers and I said, hey, listen, here's the situation. This is what I really think is going on. Can I send a card for you? Can you just come to the meeting? Just say you're the chairman. I'll make a business card for you since I'm good at the business cards. He was the entrepreneur, the story, right?
Yeah.
We get there. 9 times he had to redirect the conversation and say, no, but she's the expert. Because they were like, oh, wise one.
Yeah.
They signed within 15 minutes. 15 minutes. So again, I had a choice. What am I going to do? Be bitter Betty, or am I going to use that and say, okay, when you can't get in their front door, you go in through the window and you find a way, right? And sometimes we just need that thought partner to really show us another way because we're too close to it.
It's incredible the evolution of where us women are now today. And again, your accolades just are astounding. Trixie, what are some challenges faced by women in the business world that you still see, and obviously, again, we're friends, you're helping me through some stuff that we can help them overcome to achieve greater success?
Two things, right? One is we as women take on too much, right? So we've got 10 different plates that we're spinning, all these plates, and a lot of them don't need to be our plates or be spun at that time. So then we're spinning all these 10 plates, none of them being spun just with all the focus that it needs. You got 10 and you're all over the place. And of course, we're human beings. You drop 2. And you're so upset at yourself for dropping the 2 when maybe those 2 shouldn't have been there in the first place. And I tell women all the time, wait a second, rewind, change your thinking. You were spinning 8 plates when the majority of the world can't even spin 1. So focus on the fact that you were able to do the 8. Now let's take another step back and see if those 8 are the right and most efficient ways, plates for you to be spinning at that time. Yeah. So that's a huge thing. And it's just, we take it on ourselves, right? Because we've got so many things that we're responsible for. And God forbid us not deliver on one thing, the world's going to fall apart, right? Yeah. That's how intense we take it. So that is something I tell women all the time. Like, listen, it's just the nature of the beast, right? It's how it is. We've got a million things, but focus on, were those 8 needing to be spun at that time? And is that the most right thing for you, right? Yeah. The second thing is sometimes we don't realize that it's okay to ask. It's okay to go and ask for the thing or for the advice or for the help. It's okay. And a lot of times we think we just have to have it all together all the time, right? And we have a million stories and reasons why we feel that to be true. And oftentimes it has been true at some point in our life, but it doesn't have to be, right? And so one of the things that I found for myself was when I would mess up, right? Or do something in business that I felt like, God, that wasn't the right decision. I should have played it this way. I should have done A, B, and C. I realized, okay, let me take a step back. Let me really look and learn from this situation. Yeah. What could I have done differently? How could I improve? And let me go find somebody that I can talk to that's really good at that, right? So an example, every time I've screwed up in business, it's because of the person, right? I believe in them so much and I believe what they're telling me and I want so bad for them to have the win in whatever it is that they're doing, right? That I almost like kind of Pollyanna, like, okay, they're going to do it.
They're going to do
but
it.
But I can't want it for them. If they don't want it, then I have to look at their actions. So I literally realized, okay, that's a blind spot for me. So let me surround myself with a couple of trusted people, right? That they know, hey, this is what I'm working on today, and be honest about it. And you know what? I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
I'm not great at it, but I'm getting better.
Yeah. But I love that. And I love what you just said, that, and to go back to your story or my story, because I want to tag along with what you just said about, and I know, look, you and I have had many conversations where I'm sometimes in the weeds and juggling so much. And then it's like, what is the one thing that's going to make a difference? You're very tied to my space. You came out to see me in Vegas. And when we think about what it requires, men, women, whoever, to run a business, and obviously I'm speaking from my world and what I help people do, but where do you think the mindset comes from? Because, I say it's not easy running an aesthetic practice. It's not just you're a good doctor or a good provider, right? You're an entrepreneur if you chose to have a brick and mortar and run a business and have team and systems and all these things. And the whole analogy, practice makes perfect. It doesn't, right? Practice is a habit, and you have to be invested time-wise to say, this is my business and I'm not going to fricking let it fail. Look, money's a mindset. You wanted to be in the Chanel closet. You wanted to be in that big wealthy house. You saw something bigger and better for yourself, and you were willing to just walk through fire to get it. But not everybody has that mentality. They're scared, they're risk averse. But again, they want something different. So it's an investment to work with you, to work with me, to whatever the hell, right? Where does that money mindset come from?
I think you have to train yourself like in anything, right? I think for me specifically, yes, I had that exposure to more and I wanted it as a child, right? So I think it was like, I wanted that and I wanted to be really good at whatever I did, right? So I played the piano as a kid. I wanted to be good. So I wanted to do a good job for myself. Yeah. And I'm grateful for that. But I saw that kind of modeled out from my mom, right? She wanted to be the best she could at whatever it is that she was doing for herself. And that was a key point that I try and instill in everyone that I work with, right? Man or woman, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to have that kind of self-pride a little bit of like, hey, I did a good job, because the world's going to give you enough other messages, right? You're going to have to tune out the noise. But I will tell you, the minute I realized for myself, I want that, right? Let's say in business, and I want to scale it to this, and I'm not going to limit myself, because whoever is telling me I can't, and believe me, there was many of them, right? Mm-hmm. They're not paying my bills. Yeah. They're not stressing at night. I'm the one stressing to be perfect, because I want to do a good job, because I want to help. Really, just like wanting to build people's practices. And you're like, hey, I know the answer. I know the answer. I know if you do these 10 things, right, I can help you grow 10X, right? Like, who doesn't want to grow 10X? And you're like, listen to what I'm saying. These are the things, right? And so for me, it was that in housing, right? It was like, look, if you just put leverage on this, your 10 homes become 30, right? Like, it was the exact same feeling. And so it was really thinking about it and saying, okay, my why is because I want to build platforms where I can use that to point to say, hey, listen, I've been through it. You can do it too. Mm-hmm. Right. And so when I realized that why was more important than whatever anyone else was saying to me, didn't matter. Then I started growing with that. Right. So then I'm like putting on a pair of jeans, and if it doesn't fit, it's not my fault. It's a designer.
I love it.
But really, right. Like, you start to really think about it, and you're like, okay, what's really important? If this is my why, what do I care about what Joe Schmo says? Yeah. He or she isn't paying my bills, right? And so you really start to think through and look at the world different, and you start to really think, you know what? It's okay to know that you have value, and it's okay to value your time, and it's okay to say no to things, right? When a lot of times we're taught not to.
Yeah, of course. I'm reading your bio, and it says that you have now invested in over 50 companies, right? And obviously with your sale of those couple companies, what are some practical strategies anyone owning a business has to do in terms of having a successful business, regardless of the industry or the sector? What is just a non-negotiable?
I think you gotta learn about money and how to make it work for you. And the biggest challenge I see for entrepreneurs, myself included, is we get so busy with our business, which is our baby, right? We get so busy with that we almost put blinders on, which is great in business to have that succinct focus. But if you're not on top of your money and growing your money, it only lasts so long, right? Yeah. And so I think that kind of taking a step back and identifying what your relationship with money is, right? Like, are you afraid of it? Is it intimidating? Are we taught not to talk about it, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever your relationship is with money, kind of make peace with that for 5 minutes, right? And then decide, hey, I'm going to make my money work for me, and then vet things out carefully, right? So like, you can go through all the checks and balances to vet a business or an investment opportunity, let's say, but get to know who the person is. That management team, get to know who the owner is, get to know that, because when the chips are down and the challenges come, and in any business, I don't care who you are, they come, you want that person and team that's going to roll up their sleeves and say, hey, I'm going to get in there, and I have the capability to fix it and grow from it, right? And so that's a big piece that's missed. They just get the sale of the persona rather than, okay, let's get in there. We're going to hitch our wagon to the person that knows how to weather the storm, right? And that is capable of it.
Yeah. God, I really love that. And I'm going to kind of even correlate it to my background, and the same as you, right? My why is, you have kids. My why is my daughter. My why is because I've been in the trenches and I've worn the shoes in every department, and I've done it. And then, you look around, and to your point, who are you working with? Like, who are you going to hire, and have they done it? Like, do they have the credentials and the experience and the expertise to 10X versus a wannabe? Let's call it what it is. There is a lot of imposters out there, and it's like, you got to do due diligence. You said you got to make your money work for you, and you have to learn about money. What do people do? How do you learn about money? What can people do if they're sitting on money they're in debt or spending it frivolously or whatever the hell it is? Where can people really learn about money?
So I always say, go to your trusted advisors, right? But chances are people have gone to their trusted advisors, right? And so now, which is a great thing, but you want to go to your trusted advisors, learn everything you can, but look to those that you see or you that are making investments too. Like I sit down at a lunch and I talk about the deals I'm in. Why not?
Right.
Of course.
Why not?
It's right. I want to make money. I certainly am crystal clear about that. Right. And so if I'm talking about like a real estate deal or this or that, why wouldn't I want to expose that opportunity to someone else? Or even just how I'm analyzing the deal. And a lot of times they talk about the deals I turned down. Because for the 50 we did, imagine the thousands we turned down, right? And I think people need to get comfortable with hearing about the reasons why, but not getting stuck there and then just like paralysis analysis, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that one of the things that you can do is really just make a focus to yourself that, hey, I'm going to make my money grow and I'm going to start talking to people about what they're doing and then work backwards and look to see how has it worked? How has it returned? What is a safe investment? I could speak to real estate, right? I could speak to debt. I could speak to those two things because of what I've done for 20 years. But I'm going to go talk to 3 or 4 of the top in tech if I'm going to invest in tech, right? And so you go through and you find your experts and you start to form your tribe. And it's not that you're dependent, it's that you want to grow, right? And you don't want to miss something that they would be an expert in, right? But at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, look for industries that are growing. Look, don't box yourself into an industry that's a flyer that, you need a unicorn to make it work. That's not the way to go. That's if you're just, laying on the beach and you just have disposable income, right? Like look for tried and true, but don't negate to invest in yourself as the entrepreneur and as the business, right? And continuing to grow yourself because everyone else is. We can't be late to the party, right? We can't be late to the party. So look at industries that are growing, look at industries that are sustainable, right? That, like, to me, it's a no-brainer, right? Real estate is something that people establish their financial roots in. Doesn't mean it's the only investment. Yeah. No, it just means that's one of the financial root investment, right? And then you start to learn what you're comfortable with, but don't be afraid to dive in and ask the questions. Okay, why is my return here? And why was it that? And how did it change? And really just, there's so much information now that I think that a lot of the fear and, kind of nervousness is going away and subsiding. Now it's just the time. People don't have time when you're growing your business. And there's a lot of groups out there that are in the same boat that try and make it easy.
I think too, what you're saying is that I think people's tendencies, they try to do it alone. They try to do it alone. They don't want to seek advice or expert help. They're comfortable, instead of getting uncomfortable. As we kind of wrap this tremendous, valuable podcast up, Trixy, what leadership skills? We always talk about women empowerment. How can us as women lift each other up, empower each other more? There's probably a lot of women, obviously women-dominated industry here in aesthetics, and what are the leadership skills to inspire other people to reach success levels? I mean, we can only aspire to have a fraction of your success. But if there was, truly, no. And you're still hustling and you're still grinding. And, shit, I want to be the girl on the beach, right? With all the money. And I'm going to give you my money. But right, what would those leadership skills be? And what would be 1 or 2 really takeaways here that you're like, everyone listening, you got to get uncomfortable and go do these couple of things?
I think being honest with yourself with what you really want, right? I think that's number 1 because it's so easy to say our why, but like, is that really why? Is that really what you think about first thing in the morning, right? Is that really what drives you when you're tired, when you're having a bad day? Is that really why? So I think just remembering that and identifying that and being open to create opportunities and expose yourself to more. And what I mean by that is my dad used to tell me all the time, Trixy, your friends are half of who you are. And I thought, what does he know? He doesn't know my friends, right? Yeah, but it's so true as a grown up, right? I look at that and I think, if I'm spending my time here, what are the things that I want to learn and grow? How I want to be like that, right? Mm-hmm. So I always think to myself, okay, I can't be that person in the room that's not taking notes. I need to be the person in the room that's learning. That's critical. Yeah. So continue to grow your circle and your exposure, not doing this, right? Because we tend to only hang out with people that are doing this with us and only talk to people doing this with us. And then you just get you feel better, a lot of pat on the backs, but you're not getting the person from the outside that's like, hey, wait a second, there's a better way to do this. Or better yet, like my kids, well, why? Why do you do it that way, right? And I think sometimes we have to put ourselves in a little bit of an uncomfortable situation with a trusted person to be transparent and say, hey, these are my challenges. And I'll tell you one thing, every time I've done that, I've been able to, with the team, we've turned a challenge into a revenue stream, a problem that we thought was insurmountable, not just for us, but for the industry, into a revenue opportunity. And I think if you look at the world that way and you take a step back, remembering your why, remembering what it is that driving force is, and you reach to grow your own kind of network and exposure for yourself, being that you're the business, you just start to fly.
Yeah. Yeah. God, I mean, this was amazing. And you guys, this is really going to be a series that we're going to do with Trixy, because there's so many things that I want to kind of keep a little guarded in terms of, what she's doing now, where we can expand your businesses, your money, turn it into a greater level of wealth. And again, just take your business to the next level. Trixy, you've been an entrepreneurial whisperer to me. You've been a mentor and again, a friend, and I'm so grateful to you and for what you're doing in the industry. How can people reach you, find you if they want to contact you? How can they find you?
Well, thank you, Terri. And I'm new to the social media world and the whole thing. I've always been behind the scenes, right? So it's pretty simple. It's trixycastro.com is my website, and people can reach out to me there. I'll be updating them on, what I've got going on, what companies I'm investing in, different tips, and the idea to be able to just be that thought partner resource to other entrepreneurs.
Trixy, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story and being vulnerable. I know it resonated with me when we first met. We share similar backgrounds, and I think it really is a true testament that if somebody wants something different, they have to, again, sit in the shit, get uncomfortable, make hard decisions, recognize that you don't need to do it alone. There's a better way to do that. I'm really excited. I've been working with Trixy on a couple other endeavors. One of them is the Verify, the payment brokers. I'm going to be investing in some of Trixy's real estate companies, which is something I need to do too, right? Make my money work for me. And stay tuned for the sales mentorship program that I'm launching in working with Trixy. I'm really excited about that. But Trixy, again, thank you so much. And if this podcast and Trixy's story resonated with you, and you are a business owner, male or female, and you are struggling and you're sitting here listening to her story and what she's been able to accomplish, I don't know about you, but that shit drives me and motivates me. We can't be in the status quo. We just can't. And so if you're stuck and struggling and you want something different, you can't, like she said, make your money work for you. Don't be afraid of it. Surround yourself with intelligent people that have done it, because that is how you're going to grow. Okay, what is it saying, Trixy? I think it's your network is your net worth. And again, you guys, please leave a comment, share this podcast. I know a ton of people are going to really sit and resonate. This was about women and female leadership and mindset transformation. So thank you so much. And I cannot wait to see you guys on the next episode of In Touch with Terri. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to In Touch with Terri. We hope you found this discussion insightful and empowering. If you want to go further faster, remember, the journey to success is a continuous learning process. And together with Terri and her expert team, you can navigate the challenges and celebrate the victories. To book a Growth Accelerator call, click the link in the episode notes to terrirossconsulting.com.